Shalom, grace, and welcome to this week's edition of Peniniat Torah, Pearls of Torah with Yeshiva Shuvu. I'm Al Tzur Cabeza Perez, and this week's Torah portion is Parashat Beha'alotecha. Now, it's been a couple of weeks since I've been doing the Pearls of Torah because we had a wonderful time these last few weeks. About a month ago or so, I was in Orlando with the brothers and sisters of the Congregation Bread of Life with Roed Tom Flores and Rav Shapira. Then a few weeks later, we were able to go to Bogota, Colombia, where we were able to fellowship with many of the Talmidim of Yeshiva Shuvu, with Rav Bernstein, with Rav Gil, with the Israeli historian Eldad. So many wonderful teachers. We learned so much. And now we're back into the weekly Parashot. This week's Torah portion is an excellent Torah portion. We've had a brief word and study with Rav Shapira in the land of Israel concerning this parasha. And now we're going to go over a different angle of the parasha that is really important for us as believers in the Messiah Yeshua and the Messianic movement, because it teaches us about unification. When we are obedient to the word of Adonai, and I mean all of the word, then we illuminate the light of Messiah to the world around us. And so we begin this week's Torah portion in Numbers chapter 8. And I'll go ahead and read the first 3 verses. And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aharon and say to him, when you arrange the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the menorah, the lampstand." And Aharon did so. He arranged the lamps to face toward the front of the lampstand, the menorah, as Adonai commanded Moses. Now, we need to analyze every word that is used in the Hebrew scriptures to describe the structure of the menorah and its functions, because this pertains to us, to all of the people of Israel, the wild and the natural branches, those who observe Torah and the followers of Messiah. This unity that is expressed through the menorah, that is the light of the world, which is representative of so many things, is extremely important for us to analyze. So we'll begin with the commentary from Rashi, who says, Beha'alotecha, where we get the name for our parasha. When thou makest the lights rise, because the flame rises upwards. An expression denoting ascending is used of kindling them, referring to the lights, implying that one must kindle them until the light ascends of itself. When we spark that fire, we must make sure that that fire is properly sparked so that it can ascend of itself and be sustained. Continuing, he says, El mul penei ha-menorah, over against the menorah, over against the central lamp, which is not one of the branches like the others, it's unique, but on the body, the central shaft of the menorah itself. Ya'iru shivat hanerot, and shall the 7 lamps give light. This central lamp itself, which naturally gave light over against the penei ha-menorah, the face of the menorah, and the 6 lamps which were on the 6 branches, the 3 on the east side of the central shaft, should have their wicks turned toward the center branch. And similarly, 3 on the west should have the ends of their wicks turned toward the central one. The center of the menorah is what holds everything together. And so we see in the renewed covenant, in the book of Revelation, chapter 1, at verse 12 and 13, it says, And having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, the menorah, and in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the feet, and girded about the chest with a golden band. It is none other than the Messiah, who stands and is represented by the center of this menorah. And so we learn from Shnei Luchot Habrit the following. The candlestick, the menorah, symbolize the 7 emanations which form the binyan, the structure. This is also where we get the 7 verb tenses of the Hebrew language itself, all of which in turn are nourished from a higher source. The 7 lamps shall give light opposite the face of the candlestick. This means that the menorah in the tabernacle corresponded to and was opposite its counterpart in the celestial sanctuary. We view the candlestick as symbolizing man. There are 3 arms or pipes on either side. The lower ones are longer than the middle ones, and the middle ones are longer than the upper ones, which are near the center shaft. The lights all burn on the same level. The center shaft representing the body of the menorah. Man is like the menorah. He has 3 projections on either side: his arms, his legs, and his ears. So we see that the menorah is represented by the Messiah, the Son of Man, who is the living word of Adonai. And the menorah also represents mankind as a whole. And so we see in our Parashat, chapter 8, verse 4, the following. Now this workmanship of the menorah was hammered gold. From its shaft to its flowers, it was hammered work. According to the pattern which Adonai had shown Moses, so he made the menorah. Regarding this, Ramban says the following. This is how the menorah was made. Veze ma'aseh hamenorah. This hints that future generations must make the menorah beaten, and that without the quality of being beaten, the menorah is not valid. Now, what fuels the menorah? The olives, which had to be beaten. And so we see in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8 through 10, it says, we are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted but not forsaken, struck down but not destroyed, always carrying about in the body the dying of the Master Yeshua, that the life of Yeshua also may be manifested in our body. We are the body of the Messiah. We die to the things of the flesh so that the Spirit of Messiah can shine through us. And this corresponds to the lighting of the menorah, which was fueled by the olive oil. The people of Israel are often referred to as an olive tree. And we'll get back to that. This is also confirmed in Shemot in Exodus 27:20, which tells us that it's the olive oil that fuels the menorah. And so regarding this, we see in the book of Zechariah a very interesting example of what the menorah is representing. In the book of Zechariah chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, it says, Now an angel, a malach, who talked with me, speaking about the prophet Zechariah, came back and wakened me, as a man who was wakened out of his sleep. And he said to me, What do you see? So I said, I am looking, and there is a menorah of solid gold with the bowl on top of it. And on the stand, 7 lamps, with 7 pipes to the 7 lamps. 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left. What are they doing? Verse 11 and 12, starting at verse 12 all the way down to 14. And I further answered and said to him, What are these 2 olive branches? Sound familiar? That drip into the receptacles of the 2 gold pipes from which the golden oil drains. Then he answered me and said, Do you not know what these are? And I said, No, master. And he said, These are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside Adonai of the whole earth. So there are 2 olive branches that are on either side of this menorah, and they fuel the menorah. Now, what are the functions of these 2 olive branches. We see in the book of Romans chapter 11 that Rav Shaul explains to us that there are natural branches in this olive tree and there are wild branches in this olive tree. Yet they both together fuel the menorah. And the center of everything is Mashiach. Now we know in the book of Revelation what are the two functions that correspond to these natural and wild branches that should be unified. In Revelations 14:12, we see that the patience of those who are set apart are those who keep the commandments of Adonai and the testimony or the faithfulness of Yeshua the Messiah. That's what the renewed covenant teaches, regardless of what anybody else is teaching. And so we see that these branches, which have the testimony of Messiah, which have the commandments of Adonai, together are to fuel this menorah, which is held together by the Messiah himself. This is the unity that we should have. And so, in our parasha, we also are alluded to about these wild branches in the form of the ger, the sojourner, who dwells among the children of Israel. We see this in chapter 8, all the way down in verse 19. It says, "And I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron." Excuse me. We see this in 9:14, sorry. In 9:14 it says, "And if a sojourner dwells among you and would keep Adonai's Passover, he must do so according to the rite of the Passover and according to its ceremony." So now let's see what Or HaChaim explains about this sojourner, who Rav Shaul explains is like a wild branch in the tree. Or HaChaim says, "V'chi yagur itchem ger," and if a sojourner dwells with you. We need to ask ourselves why the Torah singled out the Passover legislation for detailing the convert's obligation to fulfill the commandments similar to the natural born Israelite. Why did the Torah not mention this in some other context? Why specifically connected to the Pesach? He continues, "The Torah was particular to write the word itchem, with you, to tell us that although we might view the convert as a most recent addition to Judaism, Elohim wants us to relate to him as one of you. Our exodus from Egypt also brought potential freedom to the soul of the sojourner. This is so despite the fact that he was neither physically nor spiritually present at the time, so to speak. Everything that is holy emanates from the same root." Exactly what Rav Shaul is explaining in Romans 11. If the lump is holy, it's all holy. Further, he states, "Every little spark of holiness strives to merge with the seat of holiness, its base. Sparks of holiness throughout the universe search for their roots and eventually rejoin the main stream that is set apart, the people of Israel." The reason that the Exodus was referenced with the sojourner is because that is the foundation of the redemption that was offered not only to the natural branches of Israel, but also to those who were grafted into the natural branches of Israel, referring to the sojourners. Now, the one who would do this in mass is none other than the Messiah. None other than the Messiah brought the nations of this world to the knowledge of the God of Israel at even a bigger scale than the original Exodus. And so we see that together, these natural and wild branches illuminate the light that is centered and held together by the Messiah. And together we are the light of the world. As we are told in the book of Matthew, in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14 through 16. One of my favorite verses that I reference all the time. It says, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. What lampstand? The menorah. And it gives light to all who are in the house. What house? The house of Israel. And through that extending to all the nations. Let your light so shine before men. For what? That they may see your good works. What are good works? The mitzvot, the commandments of Torah. But not for our glorification. And glorify your Father in the heavens. That is the purpose of being light. To bring unity to all mankind through the vehicle of the Jewish people, through their king, the Messiah, Yeshua, and those who attach themselves to him, and extend this light to the rest of the world for the glory of the Father. And so, moving forward, we see back in chapter 8 of our Parashat, verse 19, the function of the Levites and the priests. We see the following. And I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the work for the children of Israel in the tabernacle of meeting, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among them, among the children of Israel. And so, regarding this, Shnei Luchot HaBrit tells us the following. The Torah describes the Levites as put at the disposal of Aaron the priest and his sons, the Levites and the Kohanim, here in Numbers 8:19. Avodah, the service of worship that the priests perform, and Torah go hand in hand. We know this in Devarim in Deuteronomy 33 verse 10, where the task of the Levites is to teach Israel the Torah. The members of the tribe of Levi were the principal teachers of the Torah amongst the people. The gifts the Torah set aside for the Levites are designed to free the Levites from the burden of having to earn a living. They can devote themselves to their principal task of disseminating Torah knowledge to the people. Now you may ask, in our day and age, we don't have a temple, and the Levites do not perform in the same manner that they did in that time when the temple stood. Well, we do have this same structure established, because remember that the menorah, the tabernacle, the temple are all a reflection of its origin in the celestial realm, in the heavens, where our high priest, the Messiah, Yeshua, is advocating for us and recalling the atonement that was made for us once and for all. And the function of the Levites was to teach Torah. The Messiah has given us teachers of his word. Anyone who teaches Torah is teaching the words of Messiah, because Torah was given through Messiah. The renewed covenant is revelations and the insight, deeper insight, to the same Torah that was given to Moses and orally taught to Abraham Avinu. We see in the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, the following structure maintained at verse 11. And he himself, Messiah Yeshua, gave some to be emissaries, some prophets, some those who spread the good news, and some shepherds and teachers. For what? For the equipping of those who have been set apart. For what? For the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Messiah, till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to a perfect man. Remember, the menorah is like a man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Messiah. When we unify, each one of us in our various functions, Messiah being our advocate through his atonement in the celestial realms, in the heavenly temple, before Adonai, our Creator, the teachers of the Torah here leading and interceding with him, and those of us, the rest of Israel, performing our functions together, each one of us obeying the scripture, mitzvot, the commandments of Adonai, together are unified in this and are formed like a menorah which spreads its light to all mankind for all who are willing to come and be reunified to the Creator, the God of Israel. This is what Parashat Beha'alotecha is revealing to us, that when we attach ourselves in unity to the commandments, to the instructions of our Creator, in the merit of the Messiah, our High Priest, and support those whom He has sent to teach and help learn His Torah, we are each edified in supporting one another and performing the functions together to the glory of the Father and being a light unto this world. Shavua Tov.